You took the job for the money, and now the money won't let you leave. You told yourself it was temporary. Just a few years, save up, then do what you actually want. But here you are, same desk, same boss, same quiet frustration, except now your lifestyle has grown to match every raise you ever got. That is not a coincidence. That is a trap. And the scariest part? It was built specifically for smart, ambitious people like you. Most people think financial struggle means not earning enough. But there is a completely different kind of financial prison, one with a nicer chair, a better view, and a salary that looks impressive on paper. High earners across the world are living this reality every single day. They make good money, sometimes great money, and yet they feel completely stuck. They cannot quit. They cannot pivot. They cannot even take a month off without panic setting in. This is not about being irresponsible or bad with money. Many of these people are educated, hardworking, and fully aware of their situation. The problem runs deeper than habits or discipline. It is structural. It is psychological. And it is designed, whether intentionally or not, to keep you exactly where you are, producing, consuming, and never truly free. The term for this is golden handcuffs. And while it sounds almost flattering, the experience of living inside it is anything but. It is the slow realization that your income, instead of buying you freedom, has quietly bought your dependence. Every promotion made the cage slightly more comfortable, and slightly harder to leave. The comfort you built is now the cage you live in. You got the raise and you celebrated, reasonably. You moved to a better apartment, bought a nicer car, started eating at better restaurants. Nobody blamed you. You earned it. But what happened next is where the trap quietly closed. Your expenses did not just grow, they locked in. The apartment requires monthly rent. The car has a lease payment. The lifestyle has a minimum cost to maintain. And now your salary is not extra money, it is the exact amount required to keep everything from falling apart. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it is the first invisible chain of the golden handcuffs. It does not happen dramatically. It happens in small, completely reasonable steps. A better phone plan here. A gym membership there. A vacation that became an annual tradition. Each decision made perfect sense in the moment, but together they built a financial floor that is surprisingly high and surprisingly difficult to lower. The dangerous part is that lifestyle inflation feels like progress. Your life genuinely looks better from the outside. Better home, better car, better clothes. But what has actually happened is your break-even point has moved up dramatically. You now need that big salary just to stay neutral, not to get ahead, just to not fall behind. Freedom requires surplus, and lifestyle inflation quietly erodes every surplus you create. Most high earners do not realize this has happened until they seriously consider leaving their job. That is when the math hits them. Without this salary, which version of my life survives? And the honest answer is, not much of it. That realization is not just financial. It is deeply psychological, and we will get into that next. Your identity became your job title, and that is a problem nobody warned you about. Ask a high earner who they are and watch what happens. Within the first few sentences, the job comes up. The company name. The role. The industry. It is not arrogance, it is just how deeply work gets woven into a person's sense of self over time. You spend more waking hours at your job than anywhere else. Of course it starts defining you. But when your identity and your income come from the same source, leaving that source feels like losing yourself, not just your paycheck. This is the psychological side of the trap, and it is just as powerful as the financial side. Humans need to feel significant. We need status, respect, and a sense of belonging. A high-paying corporate job delivers all three consistently. The business card, the corner office, the team that reports to you, these things feed something real inside us. And the fear of losing them is not shallow. It is deeply human. The lifestyle your job funds also carries social weight. Your friendships, your neighborhood, your children's school, all of it connects back to your income level. Dropping that income does not just change your bank account. It potentially changes your entire social world. That fear keeps more people stuck than any spreadsheet ever could. So now you have two chains, a financial one and a psychological one. And they reinforce each other perfectly. The money makes leaving scary. The identity makes leaving feel like erasure. Together they create a grip that is incredibly hard to break, even for people who are deeply unhappy where they are. Nobody talks about the benefits, until they are about to lose them. Health insurance. Retirement contributions. Stock options. Paid leave. These are not small things. For many high earners, the total value of their benefits package adds tens of thousands of dollars on top of their base salary. And here is the cruel part, you rarely think about them when things are going fine. But the moment you seriously consider quitting, every single benefit suddenly becomes very visible and very valuable. This is the third chain and it is one of the most underestimated. Stock options especially are designed with this in mind. Vesting schedules mean your shares are released gradually over years. Leave before they fully vest and you walk away from money that was technically already promised to you. Companies know this. It is not accidental. The structure is built to make leaving financially painful at almost any point in time. Health insurance in particular creates a fear that goes beyond money. It touches family security. People stay in jobs they hate because leaving means their children lose coverage, or a family member with a condition loses access to treatment. That is not a financial calculation anymore. That is fear operating at its most primal level, and it is an incredibly effective leash. Pension plans and retirement matches follow the same logic. Leave too early and you forfeit years of contributions. The longer you stay, the more you have locked in, and the more painful it becomes to walk away from. Every year you stay adds another reason to stay one more year. That is not loyalty. That is a system engineered to retain you regardless of how you actually feel. The golden handcuffs do not just trap you financially, they trap you mentally, slowly and silently. There is a specific kind of exhaustion that high earners carry. It is not the exhaustion of physical labor. It is the exhaustion of performing, showing up every day to a role that pays well but feeds nothing deeper inside you. You smile in meetings. You hit your targets. You collect your paycheck. But somewhere underneath all of it, a quiet dissatisfaction has been growing for years. And the worst part is you feel like you have no right to complain. This is called golden handcuff guilt. You are aware that your salary puts you in a privileged position. You know people who would trade places with you instantly. So every time the frustration rises, you push it back down with logic. You remind yourself of the money, the stability, the lifestyle. And for a while it works. But suppressed dissatisfaction does not disappear, it compounds. It shows up as irritability, disconnection, and a growing sense that your real life is somehow happening somewhere else. The mental cost also includes what psychologists call learned helplessness. The longer you stay in a situation you feel you cannot escape, the more your brain starts accepting that escape is impossible. You stop imagining alternatives seriously. You stop updating your skills outside your current role. Your entire professional identity narrows to fit the job you are already in. Leaving becomes harder not just because of money but because your mind has quietly stopped preparing for it. High performance under these conditions also masks the problem from the outside. You are still delivering results. Your manager sees no issue. Your family sees the salary. Nobody around you is sounding an alarm because from every external angle, things look fine. But you know something is off, and that gap between how things look and how they feel is one of the most draining experiences a person can carry long term. Most high earners are one unexpected event away from complete financial panic, and they never see it coming. Here is a brutal irony. People assume that earning a high salary means you are financially secure. But security is not about how much comes in, it is about how much stays. And for most high earners, the gap between income and actual savings is shockingly small. The lifestyle costs are high. The fixed expenses are high. The social expectations are high. So despite the impressive salary, the financial cushion underneath is often dangerously thin. This is why job loss hits high earners so devastatingly hard. It is not just the income that stops, it is the entire structure of their life that suddenly becomes unsustainable. The mortgage payment does not pause. The car lease does not pause. The private school fees do not pause. Everything continues at full speed while the income drops to zero. And because the monthly burn rate is so high, savings disappear faster than anyone expected. Financial advisors call this being cash flow rich but asset poor. Your monthly numbers look impressive, but your actual net worth, the wealth that exists independently of your next paycheck, is far smaller than it should be for someone at your income level. You have been earning well for years, but the money has been flowing through your life rather than accumulating inside it. This vulnerability is also what keeps people from negotiating boldly at work, setting boundaries, or pushing back on unreasonable demands. When your financial runway is short, your employer has enormous power over you. You cannot afford to rock the boat because you cannot afford what happens if you fall out of it. That is not a career strategy. That is survival mode wearing a suit. The exit feels impossible, but the real problem is nobody ever taught you how to build one. Most high earners were taught one financial script growing up. Study hard, get a good job, earn a good salary, live a good life. That was the complete plan. Nobody added the chapter about building assets outside your job. Nobody explained the difference between active income and passive income. Nobody taught you that a salary, no matter how large, is the most fragile form of wealth because it requires your continuous presence to exist. So you followed the script perfectly. You got the degree, landed the job, climbed the ladder. And now you are at a level that looks like success from every angle, except you have built a life that is entirely dependent on one source of income controlled by other people. That is not financial success. That is financial exposure dressed in expensive clothing. Building an exit is not about quitting tomorrow. It is about creating options that make quitting a real possibility someday. That means building income streams that do not require you to show up. Investments that grow whether you work or not. Savings that could cover your life for 12 months if everything stopped. Skills that exist independently of your current employer. These things do not appear overnight, but they completely change the psychological experience of your job. When you have an exit built, everything shifts. You negotiate differently. You set boundaries differently. You handle a difficult manager differently. Not because the situation changed, but because your relationship to the situation changed. The handcuffs only work when leaving is genuinely unthinkable. The moment leaving becomes survivable, the power dynamic flips entirely in your favor. The people who escaped the trap did not get lucky, they made specific decisions most people are too comfortable to make. There is a pattern among people who successfully break free from golden handcuffs. They did not win the lottery. They did not inherit money. They did not stumble into a viral business overnight. What they did was make a series of deliberate, uncomfortable financial decisions while they were still employed. They used their high salary as a tool instead of a lifestyle subsidy. And that single mindset shift changed everything. The first decision they made was to stop upgrading their lifestyle with every raise. This sounds simple, but it goes against every social signal you receive as your income grows. Colleagues buy bigger homes. Friends take more expensive vacations. The pressure to match your surroundings is constant and powerful. But the people who escape keep their expenses flat while their income grows. That gap between income and expenses is where freedom is actually built. The second decision was to aggressively build assets outside their job. Not someday. Not after the next promotion. While still employed, while the salary was still coming in. They invested consistently. They built side income. They acquired things that generated returns without requiring their daily attention. They understood that the goal was not a bigger salary, the goal was a balance sheet that could support their life independently. The third decision was the hardest. They got deeply honest about what their life actually needed versus what their ego had decided it needed. That is not a financial exercise, it is a values exercise. And most people avoid it because the honest answers are uncomfortable. But without that clarity, no amount of money ever feels like enough to justify the risk of leaving. Freedom is not about earning less, it is about needing less to feel secure. The most common fantasy among trapped high earners is that a bigger salary will eventually solve everything. One more promotion. One more raise. Then finally there will be enough cushion to breathe, to save aggressively, to start building real freedom. But this is the cruelest part of the trap, the finish line keeps moving. Because the problem was never the number. The problem is the relationship with the number. People who break free from golden handcuffs share one deeply counterintuitive trait. They became comfortable with a smaller version of their life before they needed to live it. They did not wait until crisis forced them to downsize. They proactively questioned every expensive habit, every status purchase, every lifestyle cost that existed purely to signal success to other people. And what they found on the other side of that process was not deprivation, it was clarity. When your monthly needs drop, your required income drops with them. When your required income drops, the number of opportunities available to you expands dramatically. Suddenly a business idea that generates moderate income becomes viable. A career change that pays less becomes survivable. A sabbatical becomes something you can actually fund. Reducing your need for money is functionally identical to earning more of it, except it also buys you something no salary ever could, which is genuine options. This does not mean living poorly. It means living deliberately. It means knowing exactly which expenses genuinely improve your life and which ones simply maintain an image. High earners who make this distinction consistently report something surprising: their actual enjoyment of life goes up when they stop spending to perform success and start spending only on things that truly matter to them personally. The handcuffs were never locked, you just never tested the key. Everything covered in this video points to one uncomfortable truth. The trap is real, the chains are real, the psychological weight is real, but the exit has always existed. It was never about whether leaving was possible. It was about whether you had built the conditions that made leaving survivable. And that is entirely within your control, starting from wherever you are right now, at whatever salary level you are currently at. The path forward is not dramatic. It is not about burning everything down overnight. It is about making small, consistent, deliberate decisions that slowly shift your financial reality. Stop inflating your lifestyle with every raise. Start building assets that exist independently of your employer. Get honest about what your life actually needs versus what your ego has attached itself to. Build a runway long enough that leaving becomes a real option rather than a terrifying fantasy. Your salary should be the starting point of your freedom, not the thing standing between you and it. The highest earning years of your career are the most powerful wealth building opportunity you will ever have. But only if you treat them that way. Most people spend those years upgrading their lifestyle. The ones who escape spend those years buying back their choices. If this video made you think differently about your income, your expenses, or the invisible walls around your career, that reaction is important. Do not ignore it. That discomfort is your instinct telling you that something needs to change. The people who act on that feeling, even slowly, even imperfectly, are the ones who eventually look back and realize the handcuffs were never actually locked. If this helped you, subscribe, because this channel exists for exactly this kind of conversation.